It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley as we move into a Wednesday. Gary, what's happening?
Not much.
Got a bunch of blank paper falling on the floor. What's going on over there?
Well, I had all my stuff was over the microphone switch. That's why there was a half-second delay, and I just knocked it all onto the floor.
Blank pages on the floor. What's going on?
Well, that's because the way that printers work. Printers never work correctly. And so there's always like these blank pages that come up with it. And because we always make sure we have hard copies of our stories in case our computers go down. So that's
right. Because the printers always work.
Oh, by the way, Ellen, the printer's going.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
The last couple of we need new toner.
The old dependable.
Before we go any further, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I want to play this audio cut. Just a number of things from Scott Jennings here, and this is dealing with Lee McGowan. I think we talked about her yesterday from Politics Girl. This is the one. She's the one, and I'm so glad they put her on there because she is more unhinged than the women on The View. And as we've talked about the women on The View give the incorrect stereotype, the totally incorrect stereotype of every woman that I know and associate with, that women are completely unhinged, totally emotional, have no critical thinking skills, cannot connect any dots whatsoever. And this Lee McGowan is the same way. She's the one, and we played the audio cut last night where she was going to, back at Scott Jennings and saying, Trump's going to have a firing squad. It's like, stop it.
Yeah. Now
listen to this here. There's some excerpts here from the back and forth between her and Scott Jennings. More of it here, and the panel on CNN. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun because they're not backing off on anything. They're still going to be as insane as the Democrats are going to be as insane as they've always been. And if you want, yesterday we talked about the new drug that we believe everybody on the left and the Democrats are taking, Liberall, and this Lee McGowan is definitely on Liberall. Here we go.
I don't want to be bringing back waterboarding. I don't want to be a country that tortures people, especially if we're the kind of country that's going to be using the military against our own citizens.
Well, wait,
this kind of thing concerns me.
What do you mean use against our own citizens?
I'm talking about
you
sending...
said blue states behave. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about sending the military into blue states to make them behave. Getting Gavin Newsom under control, getting J.P. Pritzker under control.
What are you
making
talking about? What do you mean? Like sitting into the state capitol to commandeer the state government?
I hope not, but he's definitely talked about that. I don't know why you're acting like you've never heard this
military to suppress, in the Black Lives Matter era, those protests in the street. He
was there himself.
I just make sure I understand your position, that you believe Donald Trump is going to use the military to set up effectively like coups in state capitals of states that he didn't win?
I think you're taking it a step or two.
No, she said make blue states behave, and she also said round up immigrants. That's not true. It's deport illegal immigrants.
Scott,
I think you just need to be a little
I don't know why you're acting. No.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. Hold on. I mean, look. I think you're right. Let's be precise. Trump has wanted to use the military to do things domestically that actually the military is not allowed to do. I think that's the point that she's making.
Like what?
Like deport illegal immigrants. That is actually not a function of the military.
The military can absolutely be used to work with local officials, to provide military resources, but working with other parts of the federal government and local officials. We already send the National Guard to the border.
Not against the will of the local officials or the will of the state government.
We have
a federalist government
we
here.
can.
The military is not supposed to take up arms against American citizens, period.
They're not. You keep saying that. This is about illegal immigration. You all keep saying American citizens.
Well, how do we know whether the people...
It's going to be fun. I mean, it's the same thing. It goes back and forth. There's nothing here, but they continually lie and say going after immigrants, going after American citizens, going after We're talking about illegal immigrants, and absolutely, by the way, wrong here. I mean, we know Brown versus the Board of Education, when when you had local officials that when they would not protect the civil rights of students, the military was sent in. So and again, Trump isn't talking about using the military to actually do the deporting. That would be ICE. That would be the civil organization set up, and the military already has been there to assist them, especially in logistics.
Side effects of Liberall can include, and not are not are limited to, delusional thought and short-term memory loss.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what you just heard there. And you hear it over and over again when the liberals argue. They forget what they just said.
I know.
Well, he's going to bring the army in, and he's going to shut down blue cities. He's going to... This is, again, but this is part of the fear-mongering. It's not just delusional thought. They need the rank and file to believe this. They need to instill fear. What they ended up doing leading up to November 5th is instilling fear for their own side. The fear of the left. The fear of how insane the left has become.
And they're not going to tone it down at all. You're not going to see it at all. I mean, there's an example right there. It's what the public doesn't believe anymore from the left, and so they're actually taking it up to new levels, because it was Lee McGowan yesterday who talked about, Trump and the firing squads. Trump never said he was going to bring firing squads into the United States to kill American citizens or to kill his opposition.
Nope.
That's the point. That's the absurd point that they're trying to make. Completely absurd. Because he never said that. He absolutely never, ever said that. They're just making it up. And that's what lost them the last election.
Yep.
Was they lost complete and total credibility. Everybody knew. They looked at it and said, this administration and the Democrats are absolutely pathological liars about everything, about every single major issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's insane. And it's not going to change, like we said. It's not going anywhere.
No, they're going to be ODing on Liberall.
Yeah, yeah. It will be over the top. It will never ever change. It's not going to. They don't know any other way. When you indoctrinate generations to behave this way, however you're going to raise children, and they're still children, they debate like children. However you're going to do that, that's who they become as adults, and you can't undo it. This is what we have been, as conservatives, have been screaming about for, 40 years?
And you can see that Lee McGowan, you can see her face is just so incredibly tight. I mean, she is full of rage.
Well, and the gaslighting. Scott. I mean, it's just, this is the Karine Jean-Pierre that you see up there in front of the media. This is everybody pretty much on the left that has a voice, whether they're in the media or in the White House right now or on Capitol Hill. That kind of, of course everybody knows he's going to use nuclear bombs on L.A. Come on, Scott. And by the way, it'll only be bunker busters.
Right.
Everybody knows.
Exactly. We know it's just going to be bunker busters.
Moabs,
right.
maybe.
Right. Maybe,
I mean, this is where they've gotten to.
Normal artillery should be able to take out L.A. I don't think it's...
And I forget what it was from the Thanksgiving break where there was a joke, everything was tongue-in-cheek, and then, the entire Twitterverse, X just imploded. And people just taking it and running with it. But it happens far too often. The left does it. Sometimes it happens on the right. The left does it and they take it to delusional land.
Well, when you see the landslide numbers in favor of what Trump wishes to do, it's what the almost landslide. Well, it is close to because it's over 60%.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the last polling that I saw, you know, saying no, we need to deport people that are here illegally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we need, and so this entire thing, they've lost the argument, and they're on this they're on this argument using the word immigrant instead of illegal immigrant. They've been doing that for 25 years.
Yeah.
And the public knows the difference between an immigrant and an illegal immigrant. And you and I talked about this a long time ago, how the left was, remember, it was first illegal alien, right? Mm-hmm. And then it morphed into, I may be missing a step here. It's been so long since we've done this one. It went from illegal alien, which is the legal term, still the legal term in the United States today, illegal alien to illegal to immigrant, illegal immigrant, to immigrant, immigrant, and they did that on purpose so they could sit there and try to sell to the American public that people that are legal immigrants are here legally inside the United States,
right,
from foreign countries,
that there's no difference,
would be deported. And then it was like, well, everybody's an immigrant. We're a nation of no, we're a nation of legal immigrants.
Yep.
And so they wanted to play this. They lost that argument, and they're still using it.
Yeah,
they're still using it, believing that the problem is, and I can tell that Lee McGowan, who I've never seen before this week, maybe she's been on CNN. I've never seen her before. You can tell by the way her face is just stretched. You can see the rage in her. She knows she's lying, but
right.
The rage is still there, and you can just tell she's the type of liberal on Liberall, the drug Liberall as we call it now, who is just, why won't they believe us? We got to say it. I know we've said it a billion times. We need to say it a trillion. We need to repeat the lie a trillion times.
Well, this is, by the way, this is the benefit of having someone who can actually shut things down like Scott Jennings, who can actually debate like Scott Jennings on panels like this.
And he's like 4-1.
I know it's and I love it. I mean, he doesn't flinch. Which is great. Because in the past it's been so and so Republican. Are you kidding me? They get someone from the Lincoln Project up there. Remember that whole thing?
we
want to remind our audience, these are Republicans. These people aren't conservative and never have been.
We have a diverse political panel here.
Yes, exactly.
We have another Trumper. What do you think? Trump sucks. Trump sucks. Trump sucks. Trump sucks.
Yeah.
The Republican. Oh, Trump really sucks.
Yes. Let's get back to Trump sucking. This is not. Why are you changing the topic? But that's exactly what they did, knowing that there was never going to be a debate. This is why you're seeing this kind of frustration. Along with the fact that Donald Trump won in a very decisive way on November 5th, has them fuming because they can't debate the points. That's the problem. You can't debate the points.
But the rage, and that's why I said, this is going to be really good, because since we played her audio yesterday with Scott Jennings, the rage, you can see it in her. It's just... her tendons and muscles in her neck and face are just stretched out like I'm watching Scanners.
Right.
Remember that movie?
Right.
Scanners.
I loved Scanners.
Where the head. I was waiting for her head. Wow, her head's going to blow up.
Yeah.
It's really going to blow up.
Went to Office Depot website to look to see if I could find legal notes. Do they carry? Hey, you guys carry? I know you carry sticky notes. Do you carry legal notes? They may be running out at the View. I was going to send them some. But this is because, my thought was, imagine if they actually had a real conservative on the panel at the View.
Yeah, because they don't.
They don't. And if that person could actually argue like a Scott Jennings, there would be a fire the first day. It would flames, actual flames.
The closest you have is the lawyers.
Right.
The lawyers.
Legal notes. Bunch of constructionists back there, constructionist lawyers. I wonder if they wear robes. They have gavels.
Oh my God!
But it's this is what happens. We knew this was coming, but the demonstration of it every single day is important. This is why we love playing audio cuts. Because it demonstrates exactly what we have been talking about. What our audience knew was coming. I mean, they're bat soup crazy.
Well, from the entertainment perspective, I was a little worried that, okay, Democrats, not much, not really worried. I was a little worried that Democrats may start agreeing with Republicans and every show would be boring.
Yeah,
for the next 4 years.
Right.
Luckily, it doesn't seem to be the case. We are going to be able to get, so I hope everybody you're feeling better now. We're going to be able to get our entertainment every night.
Yeah. Right.
And we're not going to have to exaggerate what the left is saying.
It's only going to get more intense after January 20th.
I know.
This is the pregame. This really is the pregame. It's insane.
We've got a great show ahead. 866-90 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. You may not be able to predict blizzards and ice storms, but you can prepare your truck to handle them. Make sure your truck is prepared for any last-minute winter storms by keeping tabs on your tires before each trip. Proper tire traction is essential year-round, but especially during winter when the roads are slick and roadway behavior is unpredictable. Protect your tire investment with routine checks and pre-trip inspections all winter long. Check pressure levels, tread depth, and inspect for any visible damage or debris stuck in wheel components. Look for steam or melted snow coming off wheel hubs, as this could indicate your wheel bearings are overheating. If necessary, give your tires a warm wash before inspecting them, as snow can cover potential warning signs of damage.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carney, and I'm Gary McNamara. One of the best things that Scott Jennings said, and you've got that Lee McGowan and some of the other people there, especially her. You can see how furious she is that he is saying this. Ready for this one?
All right.
Here we go. All right.
Yeah, thank God we have a president-elect who's willing to say it. We've had Americans held hostage since October the 7th, and we've lacked a president that had the testicular fortitude to get our people back. This is outrageous that these Americans were taken and murdered, and we've basically stood back and given lip service to both sides, this and that. I want to hear it's wrong, and this is the wages of weakness of a weak president. All these things you just listed, it's because we have a weak America, and now we're going to have a strong America. And I think Donald Trump's going to have far better success. We had world at peace when he was president. We had a peace agreement in the Middle East. But when you take Americans hostage and you murder Americans, you better damn well know the President of the United States is going to do something about it, and we've not known that for 4 years.
It's one of the things that we've been furious about for over a year, the lack of concern at all from this administration when American hostages were taken. I've never seen this in my entire life.
No, I mean,
there was basically no response like, I don't give a damn about the hostages.
Again, after the botched exit of Afghanistan, we knew everything. If you didn't know already, you and I knew before that who Joe Biden was as a commander-in-chief. He couldn't be trusted. And then after October 7th, even more evidence.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. So just one more note on Scott Jennings, because it's, the anticipation is how will the left, where will the left go with all of this? Mm-hmm. And I just don't see them. There is I'll put it this way. There's no indication that they're going to back off in any way on any of the insane issues that they hold. We'll get to the Supreme Court tomorrow on the Tennessee thing, on the Tennessee law, where the U.S. government is arguing that states, yes, can that children can decide, to have, get their private parts cut off, and that's completely and totally backed by every single Democrat that we know of in Congress. Yeah. The last time when the equity bill came up, that they all agree with it. I mean, it's not something that is not mainstream.
Right.
This is mainstream of the Democratic Party. So the insanity is going to continue. But with Scott Jennings, I think the most important thing is it's what we have said, and we got pushback on this from some of our own listeners going back maybe 8-9 years ago, where we said Republicans and Trump have to communicate effectively, and they're not communicating effectively. They now are.
Yeah.
And the media, you need somebody like Scott Jennings. You need to communicate effectively on the issues, because when you do, you can embarrass the other side. When he was talking about, Trump coming out and saying there's going to be hell to pay if our hostages aren't out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you could see all the liberals on the panel. They were livid that they couldn't argue the point. They couldn't argue the point, but it's something that you and I have been so upset about. Most things we've seen, and it's like, okay, we're going to attack, but we've seen it. But I have never seen, like we saw in this administration, the Biden administration, where they didn't give a damn about American hostages taken and American hostages killed. They were still playing that thing. They were still playing the whole, both sides here. Go to hell.
Yeah, it is again. There's only one side, unless you're a radical and you stand with Hamas, and that is to be against Hamas, which means, as a president, you work to get those hostages back. Number one. Number two, and just as important, you've got to stand with Israel in a way that makes it very clear. But you can't do that while you're funding Iran, who's funding Hamas. It's, this is and I didn't take any Liberall. That's the thing, is that it sounds delusional when you say it, because it comes back around and kicks you in the butt. They paint themselves in the corner and people, trying, if they would only, they won't. Because from day one, Joe Biden was funding Iran so they could fund Hamas and Hezbollah. That's who he is. He is the one person in the world that could stop that. The one at this moment, and has been since January 20th of 2021. And he doesn't, because, he's the one that started it. He's the one that reversed what Trump was doing against Iran to make sure that Iran was well-funded, to make sure that Hezbollah and Hamas are well-funded.
Yep.
That was part of October 7th.
Yep.
The blood is on the hands of Joe Biden, and he doesn't care.
Nope. Doesn't care at all. Never cared. Democrats didn't care.
Nope.
They didn't care. Otherwise, they would not have had their pro-Hamas stance as they've had. And the president, again, nailed down and made it clear to the American people when he bought the book last weekend the pro-Hamas book and then held it up for the cameras to see.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, you think about, you sit there and you go, well, what the heck? He's promoting the enemy of the United States. What does that make him? That's a legit question.
Right.
Who the hell would be pro-Hamas?
It is so maddening.
It is.
It has been so disconcerting for me and millions, tens of millions of us who have been greatly concerned about the safety of all Americans, whether they're here in America or living abroad. Well, that sentiment isn't shared. The reason that it's disconcerting is because this commander-in-chief cannot be trusted. He can't be trusted. You know, everything that they've thrown at Trump, Biden is funding Hamas by letting Iran fund Hamas. That's a fact.
By reversing the Trump.
Yes, that's a fact.
Yeah.
He's the one person in the world that could keep that money from flowing. One. He's the guy. And Trump is the bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you shake your head. You're like, what?
And the left, Scott Jennings laying it out, with, in that audio cut that we heard. Are you kidding me? It's Donald Trump was elected. We voted for him to do things like that, to make sure that Hamas knows, that the enemy knows. We will not accept this. This is unacceptable, full stop. And if you have any questions, ask Soleimani. Oh, wait, you can't.
Yeah. It just, that was one of the most upsetting things. You know, there's a bunch of things you could get upset about, but a lot of things you expect from Democrats today, the insanity. It's we've dealt with it. I've never dealt where you had a administration that just did not care, wouldn't even bring it up, wouldn't even talk about it, wouldn't even be furious. There was no anger at all from this administration, from Biden as surrogates. They didn't give a damn about the American hostages.
Nope.
They still don't give a damn about them now.
Unreal.
And it's just, that is, and so I'm so glad that Scott Jennings said that.
Yeah.
And you could see, they knew, they had no answer.
There's no answer to that. That was so quiet.
Now, that's what's important, because you and I were criticized a long time. We said, no, they need to be blunt. No, they need to communicate effectively to get the independents to vote for them, because where the Democrats stand on the issues is insane, and they need to repeat it 1,000 times.
Yep.
They still haven't done the repetition to my satisfaction. Now, they won an election, so they've had enough repetition where the American public knows about it.
Mm-hmm.
But still, now is the time, with Trump in office, to bury their narrative, bury their insane opinions, throw it back in their face, because they're going to go crazy again. There was the thought afterwards, will they learn their lesson? You and I had great doubts that they would learn their lesson.
I say we give them all a bunch of crayons and coloring books and let them go into the same room and hang out with each other while the conservatives get the job done. Get out of the way. Go do your coloring meditation or whatever it was. We are dealing with children. And there's two ways you can do it. You can let them get away with it, or you can use discipline and let them know you're not going to rule the roost. You don't make the decisions. Cry all you want to, but you're not going to get your way.
Coming up on the show, you saw the headline: Trump mulls replacing Pete Hegseth with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Wall Street Journal had that.
Mm-hmm.
He's in trouble. No matter, I paid attention to X as we do every day. I saw everybody, looking at the NBC article saying it's all source stories. It's all source stories.
Mm-hmm.
We said from the very beginning, we said Hegseth and Matt Gaetz in trouble.
Yeah,
because
we knew this before
right.
the Christmas or before the Thanksgiving break, when Matt Gaetz stepped down and withdrew from consideration. We had said then Hegseth will be next. There will be some time between now and then, but one of the things is, if it's going to happen, then you're going to have somebody lined up that you can nominate. And there's always a list. There's always a short list. And we'll see if it happens, in the coming days. With as much chatter as loud as it got in the last few hours, I suspect it's going to happen before the weekend.
Well, and look, it's got nothing to do with whether he's qualified or not. It has nothing to do whether it's fair or not.
Yeah.
And our opinion has always been based on what brings down nominees.
Right. Yep. Right.
These are the things that bring it, like when we talked about John Tower back in the late 80s.
Right.
Where he actually lost the vote, and it was womanizing and drinking.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what brought him
down.
It gets
people's attention.
It's
and
one
then
of
all
those.
Of a sudden, the political will
right.
changes.
It may not be fair.
Right.
But the key to this is, and I checked just before we went on the air, the Wall Street Journal article's been out for a while now, and Trump on Truth Social has not said it's not true.
Right.
And it's Trump mulls replacing Hegseth with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. DeSantis has already known for a couple of days on it, so this looks like something that they were thinking of. As we said when we left for Thanksgiving, that would probably happen. And by the way, for Gaetz, nobody should look at Gaetz as a victim at all.
Right.
Gaetz should be in Congress right now.
Yep.
Gaetz is not loyal to the Republican Party, otherwise he would be in there.
Right. Look, he won by a landslide. It was a very clear victory this time around for his House seat.
Because the last House seat just went here, I believe, in the last couple of hours for the Democrat in California. So now it's 2020 to 2015. You've got three people now, two others, and then Gaetz is gone. So it's 217 to 215. You have no margin for error. Trump can't move. Trump probably cannot move the majority of what he wishes to move through the House because you need every single vote now.
Right.
Gaetz would have given them one.
Right.
You should have no feelings of Gaetz that, he's a victim somehow. He should be back in his seat. He ran for office. He got elected again.
Right.
Did not give any indication that he would resign and resign. The seat is open for him. He could go back. He's not. You should show no loyalty towards Matt Gaetz because Matt Gaetz has shown zero loyalty to the Republican Party and no loyalty to move the Trump agenda forward.
Yeah, no, it's stalled coming out of the gate. It's going to be a lot harder to get things done. And, this is, again, after a very clear win in November. You need everything. You need everything on your side.
866-98-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Whoa, wait a minute here. We'll have to talk about YMCA again coming up following the top of the hour.
All right.
Also, Trump's pick for DEA, the sheriff. He has pulled his name. This is one of them, and also the labor secretary that he picked. These are the ones that make you wonder and go, what the hell is Trump thinking?
Yeah, the DEA pick was for conservatives. The biggest concern we had is he jailed a pastor
during COVID.
During COVID,
right? And we're talking about cutting the budget, cutting federal employees, and you put a labor secretary in there that believes that all government jobs should be unionized.
Yeah, right. I don't know where that comes from.
No idea.
I really don't know what's going on.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you so much for being here. Well, this story came out yesterday, and I don't know if it had anything to do with how we... Did we start the show? Did I start the show? Was I the one who said it first? Said, look, they got to get rid of the YMCA song. Talking about Trump.
Yeah.
We need it's too wimpy. We need something harder. Well, yesterday the Village People singer Victor Willis denied that the iconic YMCA song was a gay anthem, and defended President-elect Donald Trump's usage of the song, stating that he was glad he allowed Trump to continue to use the song. On a post on Facebook, Victor Willis revealed that since 2020, he had gotten over 1,000 complaints regarding Trump's usage of YMCA. Willis added that he decided to ask Trump to stop using the song because it had become a nuisance. Willis highlighted the good things that have come from him using it. He said, however, the use continued because Trump campaign knew they had obtained a political use license from BMI, and absent from the license being terminated, they had every right to continue using YMCA, and they did. And this is something that we said a long time ago. You can use the music. You know, you
have to pay the licensing,
right,
for that, wherever you are, whatever that outlet is that you're at, it applies, but you can use it.
And it was, what was it back? We just love this story. How long ago was that? We were in this studio. So it had to be in the last 8-9 years.
REM?
Yeah.
No, that was the last studio.
Was that the last studio?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we okay, so it was about 8-9 years ago when we got a cease and desist letter from the REM lawyers,
right? Yeah.
Because one of our bumper songs, the song coming out of the commercial to when we talk, was an REM song.
Yeah.
Now it was an obscure REM song because when we found out about it, we're like, we're not playing any REM song. We didn't even know what it was. And we believe we're going to blame Michael Stipe for this one, that he heard it, was furious, and he might have heard the story because it was after I told the story again about my buddy Jeff.
Right.
And this goes back to REM playing in Buffalo in the mid-'90s when I was a talk show host in Buffalo. Right. I got a call from my buddy Jeff, and he said, before I went on the air, and he said, I got to tell you the story that happened to me. He said, I got a call yesterday, like an emergency. Look, can you get to, and my buddy Jeff sold and leased out Caterpillar generators, diesel generators. And they said, can you get one down to the auditorium here? We need 2 massive generators for the light show and everything else for REM. I don't know what the problem was, but that's what.
Right.
And he said, yeah, sure, I can do it. So he got it done. They gave him 2 free tickets to the show.
Right.
And I said, well, how was the show? And he said, well, Radiohead opened up. They were pretty good. But they handed out these little pamphlets about how you have to cut back, the whole climate change thing, and how you had to, cut back and use less resources. And he said, and here REM is lecturing us, and they just needed 2 emergency diesel generators in order to run their show.
Right. Giant generators.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I brought that up on the air, and it was very soon after that where we got the cease and desist from REM, and we had said, look, fine, we could care less. If you don't want us to play it, we won't play it. But we always said we could have, because we had the BMI licensing for that at the time.
Yeah, all radio stations pay a fee to be able to use that music. Now, if they don't want to license it through BMI or ASCAP, then, I don't know how they would go about doing it if they wanted to take that availability away. But if they make it available for one station, then all stations can play the music. So, that's just the way it is.
So
we don't get it. Our listeners aren't here for the music, so we don't care. We decided
they are.
All right. If you don't want us to play it, we'll take it out.
If they
but
we're in deep trouble.
But we made that decision as with our team here locally. We didn't hear from anything from corporate on that. Nothing.
Oh, we just did it here local. Okay.
Yeah, we did. We did it. We did it locally. I mean, our local manager was involved, just to make sure that we knew about it, and we made that decision, and we didn't have a problem with it at all.
Yeah, I don't remember even the local management saying you guys need to stop playing it.
No,
they didn't say.
They're the ones that forwarded that to our producer at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and we don't. Again, I don't care.
No, we didn't. But as he said that he wrote YMCA about YMCA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just about people going to the YMCA.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about young men was just basically saying that's how, his impression was black men talking to black men go to the YMCA, that it was nothing to do with being gay. He said, but I told my wife to inform BMI to not withdraw the Trump campaign political use license. He said, my French partners were contemplating legal action in France, so I had my wife contact our French partners and ask them to stay out of the Trump campaign's use of YMCA because it was a U.S. matter, and I will make the decision on its use. He explained that before Trump began using the song, YMCA was stuck at number 2 on the Billboard chart, adding that the song finally made it to number 1 due to Trump's usage. The financial benefits have been great as well.
Sure.
He estimated that they've grossed several $1 million since Trump continued the use of the song.
Donald Trump expanding wealth all over the world.
Yes. Therefore, I'm glad I allowed the president-elect to continue using YMCA, and I thank him for using my song. There's been a lot of talk, especially of late, that YMCA is somehow a gay anthem. Well, has continued, as I've said numerous times in the past, that is a false assumption based on the fact that my writing partner was gay and some, not all of the Village People were gay, and that the first Village People album was totally about gay life. This assumption was based on the fact that YMCA was apparently being used as some sort of gay hangout since one of the writers was gay and some of the Village People are gay. And they've figured that the song must be it. Willis's post comes as Trump's dance moves to YMCA have become a cultural phenomenon. But as he said, no, it was not a gay anthem. The lyrics aren't about the gay lifestyle at all or promotion of the gay lifestyle. It's simply about going to the YMCA.
All right.
As we did now. We made it, look, when we said Trump needs to drop it, there was no homophobic thought at all involved in that because we said that Trump should replace it with You got another thing coming.
Oh, yeah. The other day. Yeah, Judas Priest.
Yeah, Judas Priest, exactly.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we had said, it's too wimpy of a song.
Now, for those that don't know, Rob Halford, the lead singer of Judas Priest, is openly gay.
Yes.
So, yeah. So it's not a, those are the things that everybody made such a big deal about it. The left just goes crazy. They go crazy. I was together with Lee Greenwood at an event of ours a few years ago, and I talked to him about, before the event, I talked to him about Donald Trump and his association with Donald Trump then. I mean, now it continues still today. And his song, God Bless the USA, which, I mean, for a lot of people is like it's like the second anthem, because it is nothing if not patriotic. And it is it's one of these songs that, and by the way, when you see Lee sing it still today, and he just nails it. When he was at our event, we had a private event for some friends and sponsors of ours, and he sang it, and he comes off stage, and I was waiting I shook his hand. I said, I mean, the hair on my arms was standing up, goosebumps the whole time. And you associate songs like that. Some artists are more, straightforward. In the case here, the Village People, it was like, I don't think you necessarily heard in anything that you read there an endorsement of Trump, but it was like, hey, it worked for us. Created, the song did well. So as an artist, they, as a group, they were able to benefit from that. Their music is being heard all over the world. And it's, I can't tell you why Trump picked it. I can't tell you why it worked. I mean, basically it was picked up because he was dancing to it one time. And it was out there. What happens at these events, if you've never been to a rally or these big outdoor events, they'll play a lot of music before the thing starts, and then sometimes they walk out and the music is still playing until they get up to the podium, and Trump dances to YMCA. He's out there dancing at the one rally, and it just went viral. It just went viral.
Because it all can't be Kid Rock and Ted Nugent.
I wouldn't have a problem with it being Ted Nugent all the time. I'd start with Stranglehold. Because, it's got the slow intro. Yeah. You got to have the smoke coming up, And then, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, we had just, of course, it was tongue-in-cheek yesterday saying he's got to get rid of YMCA and have something harder in there. I mean, it's just...
I
we don't
suggested
need
Sepultura first, then I thought, no, we'll meet in the middle. We'll go Judas Priest.
No, didn't you suggest
Iron Maiden first?
Didn't you suggest Disco Duck?
No, I didn't.
Just wanted to.
No. Oh, Rick D's in the weekly top 40. It's.
I thought about that yesterday. I said, and Trump didn't do anything. Oh my God!
The thing is, it wouldn't matter the music.
No,
I think that's the whole
you're
point.
Right. Yeah.
The YMCA thing, it's like, like I said a minute ago, I don't know why it was playing. Nobody does. It doesn't matter because the event is about Trump.
Yeah.
The music does. The REM song didn't matter to us because we know our listeners aren't here for the music.
We hope.
Well, our good friends at TM Studios, for those wondering, the music you hear now was created by them. It's all
all in-house.
Great, unbelievable musicians
in a studio
just a few feet. Not it's
30 feet down the hallway.
Yep,
yeah, beautiful studio.
They have a real studio,
better than
ours. Got hardwood floors.
Yeah,
I mean it's beautiful in there. It's great.
I don't see them, but nobody's there. Like,
they always lock the doors when we're here.
Remember pre-COVID though, people would be in there. I mean, they'd be doing production stuff till
Oh, yeah.
1, 2 in the morning.
I'm guessing they needed to break that up a little bit. Maybe that's why they were doing that. Kind of because there were just sessions going, all the time. They still are very hard at work.
Yeah. So
still today.
We have people that work. I mean, because we're such a rich show.
Oh yeah.
That we just say no. We need our own music in house.
Yes. And then when we don't like the one, guitar part to a song that they provide, we send it back.
Right. It has nothing to do with getting out of the BMI fees.
No.
All right.
No, not at all. No, we're hiring our own musicians.
Exactly. I like that better. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Because that's who we are.
Man, what an insane day. Well, before the Supreme Court tomorrow, the transgender issue, we'll get to
that's going to be very interesting to listen to the back and forth, as it always is during a hearing. It can give you some indication as to where some of the justices may be on that. Well, but the case when it comes to puberty blockers and hormone therapy for minors, and the current administration is arguing that states can't get in the way of that because it's unconstitutional. That states can't keep minors from that kind of behavior because it's unconstitutional.
Yeah. The hell they can't.
The hell they can't. Wow. Yeah, but I can't wait.
Yep, we'll get to that coming up, and there's so much going on.
Yeah. It really is crazy busy for a December.
Yeah, it is.
It just hasn't stopped, but that's the world today.
Yeah,
though.
Normally it's like, oh, okay.
Normally there's a lull between Election Day and usually right after Christmas, right around the first of the year, we come back and all of a sudden we learn that there's accusations of Trump colluding with the Russians. Remember that? Remember we came back from our Christmas break in January of 2017, and we're like, what? Where did this come from? And
of course, more on the Hunter Biden pardon, and you've got Democrat, even sheriffs, and you've got now Adams in New York City saying, no, we're going to cooperate.
Right.
Cancel me. We're going to cooperate.
Right.
But in Chicago, you've got citizens screaming at Johnson, you're going to end up in jail for 10 years.
Yeah.
Oh, just beautiful stuff.
It really
is.
It is.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Uncompensated detention at docks frustrates drivers of all stripes. If you're an owner-operator, you have at least some control over the matter. Make the subject a standard part of your rate and/or contract negotiations on the front end. You can use your own numbers to calculate an hourly rate to compensate for lost income opportunity, as well as fixed costs, which don't stop when the truck stops. Those two elements of a fair detention rate were deemed appropriate by most of Overdrive's audience almost a decade ago. We've used income, fixed costs, and miles average of our owner-operator business services from ATBS's clients to compute an average $64 an hour detention rate then. And 10 years later, the figure is $83 an hour. Use your own numbers to calculate your rate. A simple conversation with any broker or shipper or your carrier if you're leased about what you're putting in the rate might yield results you don't expect. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. Here's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Yeah, the story yesterday that you saw is that now Democrats are warming up to Trump's labor secretary pick, Lori Chavez DeRemer, the Oregon Republican. I have no idea. It's mind-boggling. This is the kind of thing that you look at and you say, let's look at the cabinet of Biden. Everyone lockstep with him.
Yeah,
lock and step with him, and not lockstep with him. Every single one.
Mm-hmm.
Why the hell would Trump ever pick her. She is in favor of all levels of government being unionized, every employee being unionized. On one hand, you've got Ramaswamy and Elon Musk with, the Department of getting rid of everything. I like that better.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about the fact we need to cut the labor force drastically in the federal government.
Yeah.
And Trump picks a labor secretary pick who wishes to unionize all levels of government employees.
Yeah.
Makes no sense at all. None. Absolutely none. And the story yesterday was Democrats warming up, Republicans are not.
Mm.
This is not your safe place. Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, so Trump's, and we had said this last week with Trump's labor secretary pick. The thing is, though, that could end up being an embarrassment for Trump because if she is, if she's voted in, there's a possibility she could have more Democrat votes than Republican.
Yeah.
Because she's so radical left.
Right.
No idea what the hell the Trump transition team or Trump is thinking by putting her as labor secretary, especially, again, I'll state it again, when the whole goal is to reduce the level of government workers. The whole thing that you hear constantly from Elon Musk is that we can do basically what he did with Twitter. Yeah. There are tons of people working for the federal government that don't need to be there. Right. So Trump appoints or nominates a labor secretary for labor secretary, a Oregon Republican who is as Democrat on labor issues, as radical left as anybody you can find, who believes that all levels of government should be unionized.
Right.
Now, if you know anything about the union movement itself never believed that government should be unionized. Right. The government employees should be unionized because governments don't make profits. Right. George Meany thought that. Roosevelt thought that completely. They were completely against the unionization of government employees. So what is he thinking there? I have no idea. And we know that the sheriff in Florida is gone, pulled his name. And that was, you knew that had to happen because that just kept growing over the last couple of days. He jailed a pastor during COVID.
Yeah.
Sorry, if you're Donald Trump, you can't pick that guy.
Right.
I mean, it's just.
Yeah, again, what is the transition team thinking?
Yeah. It just, you shake your head. It just doesn't make any sense. The rest of the picks, yeah. But Hegseth, he's got a problem now. I say this based on the fact when the Wall Street Journal came out with the article saying Trump's thinking of replacing him with DeSantis, whether DeSantis is the guy or not, whether DeSantis would even want it, even though, according to the article, DeSantis has been told that he's being considered.
Right.
The fact that story came out, and I know people are saying, but it's a source story. The fact that it came out and was not immediately denied by the transition team, by the Trump transition team, tells you something.
Well, and it also, now that it's, it's everybody's carrying it off of the Wall Street Journal story, it hit widespread in the last few hours. I suspect then a decision or an announcement or some kind of statement before the weekend.
Because that's the only question not going to be being asked.
Yeah.
To any surrogate out there.
And it is, look, they've already done the head count. That's already happened. The GOP wanted the head count done. They want the head count done on all of these, to basically demonstrate, okay, this has to change or that has to change or whatever. We saw it with Matt Gaetz, and the word is that Matt Gaetz was given the results of that head count showing there was no path to a confirmation right before he announced that he was stepping down. And so now you have, with Hegseth, you've already had that head count happen. That was happening about the time it was happening with Matt Gaetz.
Well, the story coming out and the Trump transition team and Trump not denying it.
Yeah.
And then the reports of at least 6 Republicans who are wavering on it.
Yeah, because you can't deny it that, and then the next morning announce that it's actually true. So if they don't deny it, then it's, the longer it goes without them coming out and issuing a statement saying either, no, we're sticking with Hegseth, or because there was a story, the Wall Street Journal had it was a related story. It goes back. It's now been updated that they were sticking with Hegseth, and that's been the case over the last couple of weeks. That story, no, they're sticking. Well, the fact is, you do until you don't.
Well, we said that about
you don't
Gates.
say, you don't say, well, we're considering changing. No, it is either you're sticking with them or you've announced the change. And usually it's the person who's nominated who announces the change. That's the best way to do that, so that you save face for the incoming administration. It's not a, it's really not a very difficult equation when you look at it. It's exactly what we said with Matt Gaetz and with Hegseth, and it's unfortunate in the event that both of them are innocent of all of these allegations and concerns. Again, there's a place and time to clear their own name, but that's up to them. That's not on Donald Trump. And you cannot have a trial between, now and the confirmation process and all during the confirmation process. You need it to be the confirmation process. Yes, it is about vetting, but it shouldn't be a trial.
It should be, what you want is Hegseth out there every single day talking about how the FBI needs to be reformed.
Mm-hmm. Or he's a Secretary of Defense.
Secretary, I keep saying
military,
the FBI.
Yeah.
God, second time I've done that. What we need to do with the Department of Defense and talk about the wokeness and everything that you've talked about.
All the woke stuff in the military. That's going to have to be addressed by the Defense Secretary.
Right.
That's part of the purge. Just like over at the FBI, just like at the Department of Justice, it's going to have to be purged. But the woke stuff in the military, quite frankly, has become dangerous.
It's all the same thing. They all have to be reformed.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we had said, we go, look, it's the drip, 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 drip.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that gets you when the story came out about his mother writing him, the letter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sorry. That's the kind of TMZ stuff.
Yeah, right.
That there is no other question. Reporters are screaming at him when he goes down the hallway. Everything is about, did you do this? Did you do that? None of it's about how you're going to reform the Department of Defense.
Right.
And so and then the NBC story came out. Yes, it's sourced, and yes, the surrogates are saying it's horrible. It's sourced. They did the same thing to Kavanaugh. You're right. They did the same thing to Kavanaugh. I don't know whether the story is true or not. I don't know. None of us know, sitting where we are. We're not involved in it. We don't know.
Right.
But that's not about that. It's about, can you get, what is the number in the Senate to do it? And like I said, the key was when I woke up last night and saw the Wall Street Journal story.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, and I went right to Truth Social.
Right.
No mention of it.
Right.
And I went, he's in trouble. At that point, he's in trouble. Fairness has got nothing to do with it. It's can you get them through?
And the fact that they haven't denied it yet, again, the longer it goes, then you should expect an announcement coming soon, because they can't let it just sit there. They either have to deny it, and you can't deny it and then all of a sudden turn around and announce that it's true again. So this is, again, part of it all, which tells me that if, we get to 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, maybe mid-morning this morning, and there hasn't been a denial of it, then we're going to hear an announcement about Hegseth before the weekend, as early as today. Because you've got to get it off the table. And it depends on, again, all right, do you have a pick lined up that you can announce? You know? And it has to be a solid pick. You know, the thing about the AG pick is that Pam Bondi was a solid pick.
Yeah.
We asked, and to the point, we asked, why wasn't she first? You had to have known that you weren't going to get the head count even before the ethics committee report in the House on Matt Gaetz and you know, the other stuff, all the other allegations against him. Set that aside. He doesn't have a lot of friends on Capitol Hill, you know.
Gaetz, yeah,
Gaetz,
yeah, you're right.
And so
No,
it was a tough job to get to the head count, you know, to begin with. Say what you will about that, it doesn't matter. You can, you know, have that discussion all day long about, you know, why they disagree or don't like Gaetz or whatever. It doesn't matter. You've got to get, as you just mentioned, you've got to get the head count. You've got to have somebody there that you know is going to sail through confirmation because of the way he won. And it's exactly what you said. This is what boggles our mind about the transition team. It was a very decisive win. Every pick here for his administration should be just as decisive.
Yeah. And it doesn't make it, wow, these are people that are loyal to Trump. Duh. I mean, that's the dumbest thing that Democrats have said. Oh, unlike the cabinet picks for Biden.
He's not picking anybody from the other side. He promised. Yeah. Shut up.
And, you know, I saw Josh Hawley saying, look, Hegseth, he needs we need to be fair here, and he needs to be able to tell his story, you know, to the senators, you know, in the confirmation hearings. You're not going to go through this, you know, because there were the number of stories, you know, the story about, you know, his mother's letter, and then you had the NBC story, source story, no idea whether it's true or not. But at this point, it doesn't matter. And then the veterans group story that also came out. Well, it's more than drip, drip, drip. It's new allegations are coming out every single day. Fair or not, doesn't matter. You're not going to continue it. And that's why we should know by tomorrow if Trump doesn't deny the story. Remember, it was out last night, and Trump didn't deny the story.
Well, and
you know, that he's looking, you know, to maybe move on.
Yeah.
And they've already talked. Well, when they say maybe move on, when you've talked to other people, and the story says they've talked to DeSantis.
You've already decided to move on.
Yeah, I haven't seen, have you seen where DeSantis, I haven't checked in about an hour, but I haven't seen where DeSantis has denied that.
No.
And so you look at that and you go,
no, in fact,
all right.
The Wall Street Journal story says he's been told, and then that would naturally, if that weren't true, we think at least DeSantis would come out and say, no one's talked to me about this. That part of the story isn't true. Not going to talk about anything else, but that part of the story isn't accurate.
So if that's the case, if that story is true, it's done.
And the thing about, you know, what Hawley said, well, you know, Hegseth should just tell his story to the Senate. Well, no. You have to remember here, this entire process, that he didn't tell the story to the transition team.
Oh, yeah. They were caught off. Yeah,
they've been caught off guard. That's I think a big part of what's going on here. Look, if he's innocent of all of these things, then it is on him to clear his name, and he should work to do that. It's not on Donald Trump. And if he hasn't been forthcoming with the transition team, number one, we'll put that on the transition team for not doing their vetting through an outside organization. That's what you do, an independent organization that goes and does that vetting for you. But beyond that, you can't trust that he's going to be forthcoming completely, and you don't know what is going to pop up. Again, we don't know. The NBC story, source story, you and I don't put any trust in any of that stuff. We don't put 100% into anything. And, you know, that's the problem. And I hope he's innocent. because I hope that there are no victims out there. And if he is innocent, then it's up to him to clear his name. It is not up to this process or Donald Trump to do that.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up following the top of the hour, some court cases. You saw where the Ninth Circuit rules that the U.S. can deport illegal immigrants despite local objections, from the Seattle airport. It's like, well, duh, of course they can.
Right.
So we'll get to that. The Supreme Court going to hear the radical, insane transgender arguments concerning the law in Tennessee coming up here. We'll have that. And this headline, Obama bros. These are guys that served under Obama. Trash Biden for making defenders look stupid with Hunter Biden. Typical line politician.
You guys knew he was lying. You guys are all liars, too.
John Favreau from the Obama administration.
You don't want to be. But the problem is you were lying. You were helping him lie, and you've been caught lying. And now you're embarrassed by that.
John Favreau, not the actor, the member of the Obama administration.
Yeah.
I believed him. I feel like a effing fool.
Yeah, no.
That's what makes me mad about it.
You helped him lie, and you got caught lying, and that's what you're mad about.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here. So what do you think about the drones over New Jersey and Trump's golf course, Trump's resort?
Yeah.
That the FBI is now investigating. By the way, it's not, when you look at something like that, my first thought would be, again, as the concern is, well, let's put up a drone, commit acts of terror from drones.
Yeah, if they're capable,
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I mean, I think that you have to consider all of these things as a possible threat. I mean, all the different ways now that technology, in this case drones, can facilitate some kind of attack, or present a threat. It's not just observation. And you really don't know until you investigate the device itself.
Mm-hmm. You don't know.
So you have to, all those things have to be considered here, especially, of course, with the recent assassination attempts of Trump.
Yeah.
Is it, could it be observation prior to another attempt? So who owns the drones? Why were they there? Who are those individuals, and what kind of motivations do they have? There's absolutely every reason to investigate thoroughly. And, it's in today's world, it can be anything from, somebody wanting a photo or something, or a video. Could be a YouTuber, or it could be all the way to something far more nefarious, like somebody plotting an assassination attempt.
Yeah. Yeah, you just don't know.
And you have to start with the more serious threats first.
Now, the interesting thing is where they say that the drone was, one of the drones was as big as a car.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be a military kind of drone.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be pretty massive.
Yeah. And so that is one thing to me that just, I went, I don't know. Something about the story, when I heard that, I go, something doesn't make sense. And if there is a drone that is that big, that is being used for nefarious purposes, we got problems.
Well, it tells me it's capable of a lot more than observations.
Yep.
There's a reason it's that big. It's capable of transporting something. So, yeah. Guess we'll see where it goes.
Well, the insanity continues at the Supreme Court tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just reading here from the Wall Street Journal. Believe it or not, the U.S. government will argue to the Supreme Court on Wednesday that the 14th Amendment means that a state cannot ban transgender hormone regimens for adolescents.
Right.
Perhaps that sentence sounds like Jabberwocky, but the feds are serious, and so are the potential implications of U.S. Versus Scrimeti. The law being challenged is from Tennessee, and it prohibits administering medical treatments to minors if the purpose is to enable a gender transition or to address purported discomfort or distress from a discordance between the minor's sex and asserted identity. That prevents doctors from doing surgeries and supplying puberty blockers or cross-sex hormones. Almost half the states have similar rules, according to the government's filing. The evidence for such treatments is disputed in the briefs, but the real question for the justices is legal. The U.S. Solicitor General's thesis is that the Tennessee law discriminates by sex and transgender status, violating the 14th Amendment guaranteed of equal protection under the law.
No, sorry.
That's going to go down to defeat big time.
Yep. The part of SB 1 that bans the surgeries is not at issue before the court tomorrow. Later today. It is about the hormone therapy and the puberty blockers. The left has been making the case, well, but SB 1 still allows puberty blockers in the case that treatment is necessary for teens who aren't having the normal having normal puberty. Well, but that's a medical decision. We're not talking elective. When you're talking transition, that's elective. And that's a very different scenario. Much different scenario. You know, they're trying to meld all of this together. They want you to believe that it's a right and that it's a right for minors.
Yeah. It's just how insane. Let's hear Jake Tapper talk to one of the lawyers. Okay. Listen to this. All right, here we go. This is one of the lawyers, defending that the U.S. government is correct, and that minors should be able to get whatever they want.
Right.
Here we go.
I want to bring in the lawyer who's going to argue this high-profile case before the U.S. Supreme Court, Chase Strangio. Chase, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it. So the case comes at a time when 26 states have passed laws restricting healthcare treatments for transgender youth, according to a CNN analysis of data from the nonprofit think tank Movement Advancement Project. So how do you plan to argue before the U.S. Supreme Court in a case that could have wide-ranging implications beyond the state of Tennessee?
Well, thank you for having me, Jake. And obviously, this is a critical inflection point for transgender people across the country. We're coming off of an election season where transgender people played an outside role in people's consciousness in terms of the way in which we were situated as a threat to others. And when we look at the map of states that ban this type of evidence-based healthcare, we went from 0 states that had these bans in 2020 to now more than half the country. So before the court tomorrow, the question is really a simple one as I see it. This is a law that bans medical treatment only when it is prescribed inconsistent with an individual's sex. Our argument is that treats people differently because of their sex, and therefore the court has to treat it like all other forms of sex discrimination, and that's why it's unconstitutional.
So attorneys representing the state of Tennessee told the U.S. Supreme Court, quote, if the government's theory holds, men who identify as women could claim constitutionally based access to women's bathrooms, women's locker rooms, and women's sports. Accepting that theory would perversely erode women's rights and jeopardize landmark statutes protecting women's equal access to schools, winners' podiums, and beyond. What's your response to that?
Well, I obviously disagree with that premise that allowing transgender women into women's sports or women's bathroom is a threat to women, but it is also not the question before the court in this case. And in fact, it is a totally independent question about whether a law that bans medical care for transgender adolescents discriminates against people based on sex versus these separate cases that preceded any of these healthcare bans will continue to be litigated in the courts regardless of the outcome here. So that clearly is conflating a bunch of different questions. The question before the court tomorrow is about whether banning medical care, overriding the consent of parents, the recommendations of doctors is a violation of equal protection.
What do you say to physicians who are sensitive and supportive of trans kids, obviously don't want suicidal ideation, et cetera, but wonder if there is enough data as of now to prove that it is beneficial to allow these sort of treatments before the age of 18?
So I would say three things. And the first is we have decades of both clinical experience and research data showing that this is medical treatment that provides critical benefits to adolescents who need it. And so this is not new. This is not new medication. And so we have that information. We have long-term studies that track people for 5-6 years. The Supreme Court this week heard arguments in an FDA case in which the FDA referred to long-term as being 6 months of follow-up. Here we have years of follow-up. And so that's the first thing. And then the second thing I would say is nobody has to provide this medication to adolescents. These are not doctors being forced to provide this medication. These are doctors who are wanting to treat their patients in the best way that they know how based on the best available evidence to us. And these are young people who may have known since they were 2 years old exactly who they are, who suffered for 6-7 years before they had any relief. And what's happening here, it's not the kids who are consenting to this treatment, it's the parents who are consenting to the treatment. And as a parent, I would say when our children are suffering, we are suffering. And these are parents who love their children, who are listening to the advice of their doctors, of the mainstream medical community, and doing what's right for their kids. And the state of Tennessee has displaced their judgment.
You're a bunch of damn perverts is what you are.
It's shame on all of the adults involved here, including the medical professionals who are allowing this and insisting on this.
Yep.
It is a very different scenario. And this is, the child is known since they were
2 years old. I mean, that's
Are you kidding me?
Yep. That's the kind of that right there destroyed his seemingly legal argument.
Yeah.
And by the way, all the legal, he was lying when he said it doesn't affect everything else. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, of course it does.
Certainly it does.
Yeah, of course it does. And you see that part of it, because that's going to be their argument. Well, it is used in other ways. Well, for children who are going through abnormal puberty very early, that's what puberty blockers were intended to be for. Not this This is elective, by the way. This is elective.
Right. Yeah.
This is not necessary.
Yeah, this is not medically necessary in any way. And that's the point.
It just isn't.
But that's what he's trying to bring. This is medically necessary because they know since they were 2 years old. That's a load of horse manure.
It does not, because it doesn't apply to the child's health. But then their argument is, oh, well, their mental health. Now we've got a different situation, because the left has been very clear about this. If you even talk about this in front of them, that is going to be detrimental to their health. We've got an underlying issue here with the transgender community of a mental health crisis, and no one on the left wants to address it.
No, they don't. And yet
they're the ones saying
they're
it.
the ones saying this is a mental health crisis. Right.
And they don't want to address it.
Nope.
That's insane.
It comes down, I think, to a much more simple legal constitutional question. Can states say there are things that are irreversible?
Right.
For example, the state can say that you can't buy alcohol for a kid.
Right. Right.
And, they have one, if a 10-year-old has one beer, is that going to do irreparable harm?
Right.
No, but still, you can't do that.
Right.
And so you're saying in this case, irreversible hormone treatments and removing of body parts, the state has an absolute right
Mm-hmm.
to say, nope, even parents can't do that.
Right. Now, eventually the court will hear a case based on the surgery part of it. That's not right now, that won't be before the court on Wednesday. The surgery part of SB 1 won't be before the court. The puberty blockers and the hormone treatment will be.
Yeah, to me it's the same thing because
for
it's
me,
irreversible
it is
medical.
It
yeah,
is,
yeah.
but, ultimately we need the Supreme Court to hear that because I do believe that there will be a very I am hoping and praying there will be a very clear decision by the court not to allow this for minors, period. In any state. That any state can come out and say, no. When you're 18, you get to decide that.
Do what you want.
And
right.
no adult gets to decide to do that to you.
Right.
What in the event that they turn 18 and say, I think I made a mistake or I think this is wrong?
Sorry.
Because you say, well, they've known since they were 2. What at 18 then? And by the way, what I knew at 2 and versus what I knew at 18, vastly different. Based on, learning things, experience, living. And you turn 18 and you think, oh my gosh, I made a horrible mistake. And this is irreversible. And adults made it happen. Where were they to protect me? If you're an adult and you make that decision on your own, then that's something you have to live with. If you're a child and adults make those decisions for you and it's irreversible and you get to the point of becoming an adult and you believe it was a mistake, then you've been victimized. These children are being victimized, and nobody's phrasing it that way.
I can't wait till this comes to hear some of the questions tomorrow from the judges.
Yeah. It is going to be very interesting.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. The key here in this case, one of the things looking at the Wall Street Journal, the High Court encouraged this kind of legal dispute with its 6-3 ruling in Bostock. We talked about this back when it happened in 2020, which updated the Civil Rights Act ban on employment discrimination by sex to cover sexual orientation and gender identity. But it doesn't, because we're talking about a child.
Yeah.
We're not talking about employment discrimination.
Right.
We're talking about a child. There's a difference, what you can do as an adult and what you can do as a child. So I would disagree with that. I disagree with with that decision that they made back then. But the fact is, because, again, when you start talking about gender identity as discrimination, well, then you can be whatever you wish to be, and therefore there are no protected classes. There is no, you discriminate. What are you talking about? When you can be whatever you want, how can you discriminate?
If you can belong to any protected class simply by saying so, then there are no protected classes. And by the way, we have to include the word fluid. You can be fluid. Remember, you can say in the moment, well, I belong to this protected class. And according to the left, then you immediately have the protection of that protected class, which means everybody has it, which means nobody has it. There are no protected classes because anybody can belong to them and be part of them.
But that's for adults. We're talking children now. It's a completely different ballgame.
Well,
and always has been legally.
And it gets back to eventually we have to discuss, or we have, but there has to be a much greater legal discussion about the adults who are facilitating all this.
Yeah.
Including the doctors who are performing these surgeries on minors.
The absolute perversion.
They should be in prison.
I agree.
They should be in prison.
I agree.
They shouldn't be able to practice medicine ever.
To get to the point where it has been normalized in part of society is such an incredible perversion.
Yeah. If they're
and child abuse, by the way, child abuse.
If we're talking adults,
yes,
that's one thing. And they can discuss, what has to happen, what criteria have to be met, and everything else with the person who's having the surgery. As long as they're a minor, the answer is no.
Yeah.
And why this is even a question, much less a Supreme Court legal battle. My God.
The state does not have a right to protect children.
Right. Exactly.
We do it all the time. Children aren't adults. Children cannot make adult decisions. End of story.
Children have the right to decide, because then you go from there. What other elective surgeries could they decide they could have and that they could convince adults to give them? And any process, anything at all that could be harmful to the child, even if it's not permanent.
Well, and then you get to the thing, because this is all about mental, how you feel.
Exactly.
So if it's
They've
based
known
on
since too, Gary.
So if it's based on what they feel will harm them, then what can't be allowed for children?
Exactly.
If it affects their mental health.
Exactly.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So the Supreme Court going to hear the Tennessee law tomorrow on gender-affirming care.
Yeah.
And gender-affirming care.
I mean, seriously.
It's like good. But I think people need to know where this is actually going and the mindset, because I don't think people fully understand.
Yeah.
And so I want to go back to, does this go back to 2022? And this is Senator Tom Cotton talking to a law professor.
Yeah.
And on the transgender movement. Okay, talking about pregnancy, abortions, things like that, and it got into the transgender movement. Listen to this argument back and forth, okay? Because this is what the left is promoting as to why you should allow a minor to cut off their private parts or get irreversible hormone therapy. All right, here we go.
All right.
Mr. Bridges, you said several times, you've used a phrase, I want to make sure I understand what you mean by it. You've referred to people with a capacity for pregnancy. Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
So this isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
Oh, so your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic, and it opens up trans people to violence by not recognizing that.
Wow, you're saying that I'm opening up people to violence by asking whether or not women are the folks who can have pregnancies?
So I want to note that 1 out of 5 transgender persons have attempted suicide. So I think it's important
because of my line of questioning?
Because,
so we can't talk about it?
Because denying that trans people exist and pretending not to know that they exist.
I'm denying that trans people exist by asking you if you're talking about women having pregnancies?
Do you believe that men can get pregnant?
No, I don't think women can get
So you're
pregnant.
denying that trans people like this?
And that leads to violence? Is this how you run your classroom? Are students allowed to question you, or are
Absolutely.
they also treated like this? Where you...
So there you go, right there. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
What is the argument? The argument is, now, he didn't say that trans people didn't exist. That he's not.
Nope.
He never denied that
Nope.
there are people out there that believe they're the opposite sex.
Right.
What he said was that they're not a trans man is not a man.
Right.
Not a biological man. And
That a man can't get pregnant.
Right, and then a man can't get pregnant. That's the point. No, he didn't say that a person who believes, a woman who believes they're a man can't get pregnant. He's saying a man can't get pregnant.
A woman living as a man can get pregnant.
Yes. Nobody's denying that. Or attempting to live like a man. I don't know how you live like a man when you're not a man. I mean, that's the whole point. And the interesting thing is it's now accepted in the radical transgender community that there's an horrendous mental health problem with transgenders.
Yeah.
Because she just said it. 1 out of 5 attempt to commit suicide. They constantly promote that you need to have this hormone therapy for children. You need to have the ability for children to make the decision to cut off their private parts or they'll commit suicide.
Mm-hmm.
That's the insanity of all of this.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are using as a defense that if you don't forget about even, the cutting off of the private parts or whatever, and the irreversible hormone therapy, they're saying that if you ask questions of, well, are you saying you're a male? You may think you're a male, but you're not a male. You're a woman, so you can get pregnant because you're a biological woman. And what they're saying is if you will not accept the completely delusional, unscientific argument that they are biologically what they think they are, then they're going to commit suicide. And there's no problem here, so let them cut off their private parts and let them get hormone therapy. Yeah. I mean, it's absolute child abuse, and they're admitting it. The ones in the radical transgender movement are admitting this terrible mental health problem with transgenders.
Yep. And that's not an issue for them.
And the fact is, as that professor is telling Tom Cotton, that he's promoting violence against transgenders because they're going to try to commit suicide.
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't committed any violence. He's asking questions, but to them that's violence.
Right.
Because you won't agree with their feelings that they believe they're the opposite sex. Therefore, if they believe it, even if it's not true, if you don't agree with it, you're committing violence against them because they're much more likely than the general population to commit suicide over somebody disagreeing with them. And so they're admitting there's a huge mental health problem here, and they don't give a damn about the mental health problem of transgenders at all. They don't give a damn if they destroy their lives. It isn't about helping someone. It's about these people and their delusional, warped, perverted mindset that comes from where I can't tell you. I can't tell you where it comes from. I cannot tell you why doctors aren't concerned because now it's accepted.
Yeah.
Transgenders, way over the population, try to commit suicide.
Right.
And she said 1 out of 5, try to commit suicide.
Right.
Way over the general population.
Mm-hmm. And that's not a concern.
That's not a concern. Nope.
A massive mental health crisis isn't the concern. Yet, let's make sure this is available for children, and we, the adults, will decide to do this to children.
Yeah. And they're doubling down on it. Remember, this is mainstream in the Democrat Party.
Yep.
just you shake your head. You're like, my God, where the hell?
Because if you
are
can,
these people's minds?
Again, if these parents want to be delusional to that extent, then where does it stop on elective surgeries? Where does it stop on irreversible treatment? Where does it stop on anything that could harm the child?
You're right, and that's the point that I was getting to. You could apply this across the board. The child will scream and yell and threaten they're going to harm themselves, so you must allow them to do whatever they wish to do, and the parent needs to enable that behavior from, in this particular case, children that are much more likely to commit suicide.
Yeah.
We're not making this claim. That comes from the radical transgender movement. That's their argument. Right. That's why it's so insane.
Yeah. It really is. It's insane that we're even having this discussion.
I know.
How are we still having this discussion, much less this being a Supreme Court battle?
Well, you know it was eventually going to get there.
Once the legal challenges, of course. How is it as a nation we didn't all go, whoa, 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 no, we can't do this to kids? And by the way, why has this push grown so fast, so quickly? So quickly at such a steep point. I mean, it went from 0 to 100 in no time.
Yeah.
How did it grow so much so quickly? If 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you would have talked this way, because where did it start? Where we started with it was the whole bathroom thing.
Yeah.
The girl in the bathroom in California.
It was California.
And the man was in the bathroom, and she was labeled as a bigot. And we said it then. Your daughter is a bigot. That's what they want you to believe. Your daughter is the problem. She's in fear. She's the problem. Once that started, it was inevitable we were going to get to this point.
And it's time for the Supreme Court to shut this down.
I really hope that all of it, including a case that includes the surgery. I don't know. I mean, it depending on where they go with this, it might actually cover surgery. Their decision may, if they decide against the Biden administration in this case. And by the way, the battle will change with the incoming administration. I mean, the hearing is today.
Oh, yeah. Right.
But the battle will change from an administrative position is going to change drastically after January 20th.
Yeah, there was some court case that they put on hold saying, no, the new administration's not going to go for it. So the judge said, I forgot what it was on, but said, no, we're holding this over.
Yeah,
this is delayed indefinitely because the new Justice Department isn't going to agree to this.
Right.
And this is going to last that long before we get to it. So we're going to wait till the new administration comes in.
Right. But we need the Supreme Court to shut this down, to shut this all down, to say, sorry, you can't do this to kids. That's how far it's gone. We actually need the Supreme Court to say you can't do this to children.
Yeah. The Supreme Court needs to get involved.
Yeah.
Because the perverts in America are saying, no, doggone it, children have the right to cut off their private parts.
Exactly. That's where it's gotten.
Because you must enable their feelings.
Yeah.
My God.
This is a whole new level of insane.
I know.
I mean,
supported in full by your
left.
Democrat Party.
Yep. It just boggles my mind. Just boggles my mind. And I really hope the Supreme Court shuts this down.
866-90 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's our Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks for being here this morning. So it'll be interesting. I can't wait to see the wrap-up and see the questions that the Supreme Court justices ask in this case.
Yeah,
right. The Tennessee law.
Right.
It's going to be really interesting. But I think it's important, as we did there, to put some background on and use Senator Tom Cotton's back and forth with that Berkeley professor from a couple of years ago on the radical transgender movement, just so you know what they're saying.
Right.
And so when you see that, because you've heard it before, wait a minute, if you're not saying it, you're committing violence. If I'm not saying what? Well, you're denying that that a trans woman is a woman. Well, so are you. You're saying trans.
Yeah.
So
right.
Not a biological woman. So I mean, you can take this wherever you wish to go, but the fact is, your argument is you must do what the children say, or the children will feel bad and might commit suicide.
You know, again, the ill effects of states not, if you want to call it that, it would be from the left's perspective, of the states not allowing this would be that the child has to wait until they're an adult. The truly ill effects of allowing this mean permanent damage, harm done to a child that will become an adult and have to live with that damage for the rest of their life if they end up regretting those decisions. If they make those decisions as an adult, then there's not much a society can do about it. We can have that discussion. When it comes to children, it's on all of us to protect them, including the parents of those children and the medical professionals that are performing such procedures and allowing such treatment. This is damage to children,
right,
and it shouldn't be allowed. I really hope and pray the Supreme Court shuts this whole thing down quickly. I really do.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here this morning. As always, we appreciate it. Wow, I'm telling you, I've got so much audio here. You ready for this one?
All right, let's do it.
This one with the news after the election that Ellen DeGeneres is leaving the United States, and one of the reasons is because Trump is president. Let's go back a few years.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Not only did she have Trump on his show, but Ellen offered her mother to be Trump's wife.
What?
Yeah. You ready?
All right.
Here we go.
I see a beautiful woman up there. That's your mother, isn't it, huh?
Yeah. Look at her.
Hello.
Yeah.
How
are you? And she's available if you're interested. I'd like to offer her.
She's great.
There you go. I'd like to offer my mother as your wife, Donald Trump.
Now the question. Does Ellen DeGeneres hate her mother or Donald Trump?
Oh, my gosh.
All right. Yeah. We've said this, I don't know how many times. We've demonstrated. That's one more demonstration. Where the left loved Donald Trump up until a certain point. I don't know. There might be a direct correlation of him running as president.
And he has not changed his opinion on the major issues that he believes in.
He's been talking.
He's talking the same as he was in the 80s.
Yeah. And, it's just that, he's going to be a Republican, so now he's Hitler, Satan. So, all right.
Hitler, Satan. Well, not just Hitler. You were saying Hitler or Satan, or Hitler and Satan.
I think it can be both now. I mean, they've gone as far as they can go. What would be next? You double up on it, right? Hitler, Satan. Or would it be Satan, Hitler?
In grammar, does Satan come before Hitler?
Yeah.
If you're a Hitler, Satan.
Yeah. And, it's
just insane.
And now she's got to leave the country.
Yes.
Did her mom threaten to leave the country back when she offered her mom up to Donald Trump?
No, she seemed to be pretty happy. They showed her, with the, in the audience. So
I don't know. It's that's funny. You would think. Wow. Yeah. Now the question is, are they going to leave for good?
Nah.
What if JD Vance runs in 28 and wins? Then eventually, in I don't know when it would be, when he's eligible, 2048, Barron Trump runs. Whatever it is. And wins. Tallest president ever. Hey, the United States has a giant as a president. It's so disingenuous.
I know.
We're keeping track, right? Because when they decide to go on tour. Now, here's the thing with Ellen DeGeneres. She said she's quitting comedy, not because of Trump, because the left doesn't like her anymore. They accused her of being mean and all of that on her show. She wasn't nice to other people. So she's getting, she hates everyone, I guess, or they hate her. I don't know. But are we keeping track of all the ones that are saying they're going to leave the country and,
No, I've lost track.
Because inevitably they'll be here next summer going, listen, I want to talk about my new book. Hey, I'd like to talk about my new movie. Hey, we have a new song. Whatever it is. They're going to be looking to promote it in the U.S. where Trump is president. Now, you have to keep in mind, too, quite often we do see those music artists who say, well, don't play this country or don't play this area. Israel was one over the last year plus.
Mm-hmm.
No boycott by not playing. Are they going to do that? Don't play the U.S.?
Well,
because that's a massive, massive, massive tour that every artist wants to do a U.S. tour.
The difference is now, as we have stated, that this election way back when, and if you've been a long-time listener, you know this, you know that we said it. Mm-hmm. We said this election is different because reality has hit the hypothetical. It used to be everything was a hypothetical.
Right.
I want to raise the minimum wage. Yeah, but if you raise the minimum wage, it'll increase costs and therefore hurt the economy. No, it won't. No, it won't. We need to spend more money. Well, if you spend more money, we're going to go into debt, and debt is bad. And if we spend too much money, you can cause inflation. No, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. When we know it does happen, when you print money, when you borrow money, when you give money to people and they haven't earned it, there's a bunch of negatives that come in because of it. Mm-hmm. When you open the border, there's going to be negative things that happen. And that's one of the things that, not DeSantis, but Abbott did it. But Abbott did not send the majority of migrants. He did not send the majority, not even close to the majority, to all these major cities. It was a Biden administration. That gets lost. I saw the other day, they were, I don't know if was it Brandon Johnson saying, I think I read the story where he was saying, yeah, but Abbott did it. Abbott's the one you should be blaming Republicans for sending them here. Mm-hmm. So it's really amazing that you shouldn't blame Biden, according to Brandon Johnson, for opening up the borders, allowing them in the United States. It's it's the secondary person who sent them where they wish to go into the United States.
Yeah.
Because Abbott, from what I know, make sure, if I'm wrong on this, let me know.
No.
I don't think Abbott forced them to go anywhere.
Right.
Anybody who went to Chicago chose to go to Chicago. They chose it.
Right.
And I, you look at it, and I just see, and I still see it happening. You and I are so we try to stay outside the bubble and look at the big picture.
Yeah, sure.
But we're paying attention to the bubble every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so you sit there and you see the Democrats screaming about everything, and the first reaction is, I wonder if this is having an effect. Oh, no, it isn't having an effect anymore. People have heard it. When they start talking about, well, now we need to be scared because Trump's going to, he said it, firing squads. Well, no, he actually didn't say it. We don't care. That's what he's going to do. Because it's not a lie if I believe it, quote George Costanza.
Exactly.
Then I'm on my Liberall drug, mm-hmm. and my Liberall tells me that my delusions are true.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's actually where we are right now. And I want to play because, we talked about how things are changing. You have Mayor Adams from New York
mm-hmm.
coming out
mm-hmm.
and just saying, I don't cancel me. I don't care. I want the help of the Trump administration to stop this horrible problem that we're having.
Right.
Then in Chicago, they're talking about the budget.
Yeah.
You ready for this?
Yeah. Okay.
This woman is up there speaking, and you had the majority of what I saw yesterday speaking in Chicago were blacks.
Mm. Yeah.
Speaking, and we've talked about the demographic change there. Here's one woman speaking to Johnson yesterday, making conservative Republican arguments.
Right.
Here we go.
Okay, so I got a great way how we can what we can do with this budget. First, let's start with cutting off illegals, getting free everything. Free housing, free schooling, free food. Let's start with that. That'll save us a lot of money. What, $600 million? Let's start there. Then let's start with your salary. You are going down in history as the worst mayor in America. Let's start with cutting yours. You making too much money. Let's start there. And now let's start with the police detail you had, the 200 police detail you had. Let's start with that. Because you Democrats, and you remember you told us to defund the police. Remember, you ran on that. Remember, you was the defund the police? Let's start with that. Let's defund the police detail that you have. And let's put the police back in our neighborhood, because we're not for defunding the police. We need the police. So let's start with all the Democrats, because y'all policy, what y'all push in our neighborhood, defund the police. So all y'all that got police details and got police presence around y'all house, let's start with cutting that. That'll save a lot of money. So won't you just practice what you preach? Remove all the details. We saw you coming in today. You had all the police presence. So let's take some of that away. And then let's start with and I'm asking you all, and I'm telling you all, aldermen, whatever property tax hike he's proposing, or whatever taxes he's proposing on the Chicago citizens, I'm letting y'all know for real. And now, if you all vote on anything to raise all taxes or anything, because we already suffering homeowners, you all will not be in those seats.
Love it.
And we're in a unique position right now that I have not seen since I've been a talk show host, and that's been since 1989. And the first thing is all the hypotheticals have hit the, as we call it, the wall of reality. And people have felt it. They now have felt, in major cities. And the major cities are all Democrat. And they have felt it. And we've seen the switch. We've seen what has happened in this election.
Yeah.
You have now, whether it's the border, whether it's inflation, whether it's the narrative that that Trump is the corrupt one. The public doesn't buy it anymore, and Biden doing what he did just to pardon Hunter doesn't help that at all. But what issue, as we've stated before the election, what issue are the Democrats winning on? You can't find one. Every major issue, in fact, we saw it in the election, the whole point was to have Harris co-opt all the major issues that Trump believes. Well, the public saw it, and many people saw it, and they go, well, we're not going to buy you. We're just not going to buy into that. So they can't win that anymore. Now, where does the Democratic Party go? We are now, almost a month from when it was election day. And the insanity continues more than ever before. We played the example of the liberal woman, I can't think of her name right now, that was going after Scott Jennings, Lee McGowan. And, talking about when we played the audio cut yesterday, Trump's firing squads, he's bringing firing squads in, basically to execute American citizens, a complete lie, and then the one we played earlier today, he just said, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
He's going to bring the army in to shut down Pritzker, to shut down Newsom. He goes, what? And Scott Jennings, what the hell are you talking about? They're going off the complete deep end. They're going to go further off the deep end. And now you've got a Democratic Party that cannot defend any issue that they believe in. So where are they going to go? They're just going to be the opposition to anything that Trump wants to do. That landslide numbers show agree with Trump. And I'm talking roughly 58 to 62% of the population. Even if they didn't vote for Trump, they agree with Trump on the issues.
Right.
You and I went into a lot of detail on that, looking at the actual, the actual polling out there. So I really think that we are in, you had, here it is, let me just read it here. During the city council meeting this week, residents in the sanctuary city of Chicago urged Donald Trump and his border czar to arrest. I mean, this is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And the majority of the people speaking, minorities, were blacks. Urging Trump and his border czar to arrest Brandon Johnson should he try to stop their plan to deport illegal immigrants.
It's like you said, we haven't seen this before. I mean, honestly, this is a new type of revolution. This is a new type of awakening of the American people. Things had to get to the point of being broken this badly for people to say enough, and you're seeing it happen. That's, by the way, everything she said. I loved it.
I know.
Absolutely spot on.
I know. Complete reversal.
Yep.
In 4, if you go back to the summer of 2020.
Yep.
So we're just a little over 4 years past that.
Yep.
Complete reversal on almost everything.
Yep.
866-98 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on speed and space management. When driving, you need to manage the space around your vehicle so that there's enough space to allow you to adjust when traffic conditions change. The space ahead of your vehicle is the most important and one of the easiest to monitor and adjust as needed. One rule of thumb is to allow at least 1 second for each 10 feet of vehicle length at speeds below 40 miles per hour. At greater speeds, add an additional second. It's impossible to keep other drivers from tailgating you, but there are some things you can do to make it safer, such as increasing your following distance, avoiding quick lane changes, and slowing down. There are also several things you should do to ensure that there is plenty of space between the side of your vehicle and other vehicles. Don't hug the center line, avoid hugging the right side of the road, and avoid traveling alongside other vehicles in strong winds, especially crosswinds. This tip was brought to you by JJ Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Since we're talking about illegal immigration and what's going to happen under the Trump administration, here's Scott Jennings talking about Mayor Adams in New York, saying he's totally willing to cooperate with Trump. He doesn't care whether the left cancels him.
I wouldn't poo-poo this illegal immigration issue. I think people are very upset about it.
I'm not doing that.
There's-
Just to be clear, I'm not doing that. I was just saying that the issue for Eric Adams that is very important is his legal fate. That's
but
that's
his
a big
most
deal.
serious governing issue is that there are roughly 760,000 illegal immigrants living in New York City, and almost 60,000 of them have criminal charges or are convicted criminals. If I were the mayor of New York City, whether I had my own personal political problems or not, I would be desperate to work with the President of the United States to clean up what's going on. Earlier this year, there was a police report that 3/4 of the people being arrested in Midtown were for violent crimes and attacks on the street were illegal immigrants. This is a local governance problem. My assumption is, I don't live here, I'm here a lot, that the people of New York City are hopping mad about it. And whether Eric Adams is using this to get political favor with Trump, I don't know. But my God, you're the mayor. Somebody needs to do something.
I think the two different. See how right after everybody wants to argue with them.
Right.
It's like the Democrats, they
don't get it.
They're never going to get it.
They're
are they?
never going to get it.
They're just not.
On our website, RedEyeRadioshow.com. Show info with stations, podcasts, and more. Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. Wow.
And thank you.
We're already into December.
Oh, no, seriously, can we slow down? We're at the 4th. You know, I've got everything is done for Christmas. I mean, I'm all ready. I had a neighbor that asked me, hey, you ready for Christmas? The other day I said, yeah, actually, I am. But I won't know when it happens because everything else is so busy right now. I know you and I always take that week off. And, you know, it's of course, we're going to spend time with family and all that. You know, I like most of my family. We get together occasionally. You know, usually I walk up to my grandkids. Hello, my name is Eric. I'm your grandfather. That's how I start every conversation. But I shake their hands, and then we sit down at the negotiating table. And it's it's a great part of the year. We really have done a pretty good job at working in a lot of things that, we went to this big park that has this huge, great, massive display and walked around with some of the grandkids the other day over this last weekend. We have Christmas parties coming up and, those kind of things. But, I mean, the news cycle is keeping us, constantly involved there, which, by the way, I love that. I don't really like the lull. I don't like, phasing out of it. Typically, in what we do, there's a lull after Election Day that goes, because it's always, quite frankly, a boring time. It's like they pick blah, blah, blah to nominate them for the blah, 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 another cabinet position, blah, 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 blah. But nothing, in this case, nothing stops. And it tells you how broken everything is. The reason it's so busy is because there's so much work to be done in fixing all of these things. And Trump's not the only one. I mean, we heard from the lady who was talking to the all of those in control in Chicago and Mayor Johnson. And that is something that is so refreshing, exciting, and makes me wonder exactly how far it's going to go. Where is it all leading to? Because you see that in the will of the people. We talked about a couple of the misses that we believe that the transition team had for DEA pick and for labor secretary. And it's like, what is going on? How in the world did you not get it right on those? But when you see the grassroots, where the people of this country are, you and I have talked about it for a long time. People have called us and say, well, this is why we need term limits and blah, 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 blah. Well, term limits it doesn't fix anything. It's the will of the people that fixes things. That's what fixes things, because that same district, in the case of House seats, is going to send, and unless we were talking about that one win and flip that the Democrats had that came across in recent hours. But occasionally you'll have a flip, but it's still the will of the people of those, the person that's sent there. If it's the will of the people, the makeup of that district at that moment, then it's likely going to change only when the demographics change. I don't think, by the way, people in Chicago are going to vote differently. We don't see that. Look, the head of the Republican Party there in Chicago, he called in. He's a listener to the show. We were very very glad to have him on, and it's he described that uphill battle that they have there in the heart of Chicago. But you look at, I was thinking about him when she was talking. You played that audio, and I thought, it is an uphill battle, but whether they're directly or indirectly a part of that messaging has to be, as you said, Republicans haven't done it to the extent that we'd like them to do it, but they've done it effectively, a lot more effectively than they have in the past. And she's one example of that. I think in Chicago, they're working really, really hard. And the conservatives in Chicago or in the Chicago area must be frustrated all day. And I can't imagine that uphill battle all day. But you see that reality is helping you deliver that message, and it needs to stay on point, and I'm glad it is.
Look, when we've talked about whether it's Illinois, New York, California, you see California is going to double down with Newsom. They're going to double down on everything that has people moving from there.
Yeah.
You now look at the census projection of California losing more electoral votes. If people are moving away from New York and Illinois and California, they lose electoral votes.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think it was, did you see, this is something we didn't talk about. Did you see how unbelievable it was, new residents to Texas and how they voted?
Yeah. Right.
It was like I mean, it's way over.
Oh, yeah.
If that's going to continue, then Texas conservatives in Texas should be saying, people from California, New York, come on down here.
Down.
Because it was like in this last election, what was it, 30, 40 points?
Yeah.
Difference?
Yeah. And remember,
of new voters coming in voting Republican. It was unbelievable, the amount. But
remember when Ted Cruz won in 2018, and I think it was that election cycle that showed, because he had a challenge by Beto then and should have performed better. He did win, but it showed that new residents of Texas were voting more conservative by the percentage of that group than the percentage of people already in Texas.
And that's happened again. I mean, that was my point. It happened again, even to a much greater extent, like 30 points.
30 points.
It was I was on,
which tells
I went,
you
whoa.
They're moving here for, of course, opportunity, jobs, everything else, but for freedom. I have seen, I don't know how many times, people, whether it's stand-up comedians or other people that have commented and said, I ran into a young man who said he moved here, in fact, two in this category, both of them 35, 40-ish. They moved here from California, and they love it. And they said to me the same thing. They both started with the same topic, guns. Because in California, they basically, the cartels moved in, and people, illegal immigrants, and by the way, both of these men were Hispanic that were talking to me. So they were telling me that in different at different times, these individuals don't know each other, as far as I know. They moved here one of them moved here from San Diego, grew up in San Diego, moved here and said the Democrats in that state made him feel like he couldn't protect his family from illegal immigrants, and they had a problem with illegal immigrants breaking into homes and using violence. And he said, and this goes back, there's one conversation that goes back about 2 years. And now we've seen more evidence of that play out in the news in other cities across America. Another gentleman said the same thing. Ran into him. He was a server at a restaurant, and he said, I like the idea that I can protect myself and protect my family. And I've seen that. Again, it's anecdotal. But that has to be a massive part of it, where you believe I have more freedom, more opportunity to create a better life for me and my family. We're seeing that play out all over this state.
It's the economy, stupid, and people vote in their own self-interest. That's one of the things that, the Democrats were complaining. People care more about prices. You saw the tweet that Democrats, but the Ways and Means Democrats put out yesterday, which talked about, was saying that for Black Friday, so far this Christmas, they're spending this bill. And it's like, and Republicans are saying, and here we were told that people were concerned about the cost of eggs. They had to delete it because they got blasted, absolutely blasted. Yeah. It's like Democrats still don't get it. So not to answer your question, but just to add maybe some context where you were saying, you don't know. I mean, how many elections can the Republicans, win? Well, if the
how far does this movement overall go?
Right.
Yeah.
If the Democrats don't change, and there's no indication that they're not going to change, they're not relating to the, they say I really don't know what the working person is anymore, because I think most people, even if you work a white-collar job, you feel like you're really working too.
Yeah, right.
But you look at this and you say, there isn't an issue that the Democrats own right now. There isn't one. Right. There's not one issue. They're doubling down on everything else. Government spendings and the economy is going to be very sensitive to the debt that we have and the interest on the debt that we have, inflation. And one of the things that whether it would be a Democrat administration or Republican administration on policy or where government should get involved in industry, is the fact that Wall Street Journal had an article on this. basically all the compounded inflation that we have.
Yeah.
You got to be very careful about what you do, whether it comes to tariffs, whether it comes to raising taxes. And you look at all the blue states, and the blue states want to go more blue. All right, we're going to fight more against Trump. Exactly what you have seen in your state, because every single state saw an increase for Trump.
Yeah.
If the Democrats don't change, why would that reverse? Why would that
Right.
go the other way?
Right.
Now, if we went into a recession, it might change. It might change in 2 years. But I'm talking long term, down the road. Long term, looking at the next 20 years, the next 30 years. If the Democrats don't change, and the biggest problem the Democrats have, and we've said it for the longest time, is the identity politics. They judge people by groups and not individuals, and the victim-oppressor relationship, which gets into all sorts of economic things. Well, they can't, this transfer. Who said it the other day? Who did we read that said they got to stop with this redistribution is everything?
Right.
We read that. It was a Democrat who said that.
Right,
It was,
right,
Oh, it was
right.
Tim Ryan.
Yeah.
Tim Ryan said,
right. Yeah.
we got to get away from this redistribution. We
Yeah.
got to have, the Democrats got to be talking about economic growth, not just redistribution. Their whole plan is, let's take from the rich and give it to the poor, as if that is going to change and help the economy and have economic growth. And Ryan says, look, it's economic growth that drives everything, as we have said, and we make fun of Obama saying, you didn't build that. The government did. No, the private sector built every damn thing. The government did nothing. They may have taken the money and wastefully spent it on infrastructure projects that were actually needed. I say wastefully spent it because they were the management in charge of allocating where the funds went.
Right.
And that's why there's so much controversy about the DEI and why they're even dropping it, because the DEI and everything else ends up wasting money. The government is showing now, because of DEI and everything else, they can't even get the money to give it to the private sector.
Right.
In order to build the infrastructure out there. They can't do it because they're all caught up in their insane bureaucracy of identity politics. But if the Democrats are totally focused, and there's no reason to see why, any reason we've seen in the last month that they plan on changing the victim-oppressor relationship, more victims, more oppressors, if the goal of a political party is to continually divide, and that's what it is, how do you grow? And the Republicans did the opposite. The Republicans said, let's bring it. Trump actually said it. His surrogate said it. Let's unite people on the issues, and we will bring people together on the issues. What a political concept.
Yeah,
right. I mean, that's the whole thing of politics.
And
right.
reality helped them deliver that.
Yeah. And so, I don't know where the Democrats go.
I don't know what they come up with.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. You said you've only got a couple more things to do before the holidays, or before we actually go on vacation, and weeks from now.
Oh, no,
near
I'm
Christmas.
done. Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
don't have anything going on.
I've got two more things.
Yeah.
And one's a nightmare. Both are a nightmare. First off, the one, bring the cat to the vet this weekend, which is always an experience. And then next Friday, I can't wait. I'm telling you, it's my Christmas colonoscopy.
All right.
Oh, boy, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Wow.
I've got adventures.
Yeah.
Adventures coming my way.
That's not Santa going up your chimney, is it?
I didn't say that. He did.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.